Welcome, welcome, beautiful storytellers. Welcome back to the Book Bootcamp by Journal Jam with me, your facilitator and host, Tanasia Polk. Oh my goodness. So we have arrived. We've arrived at the final week, module 5, week 5 of this journey. And I'm in this moment taking it all in, and I really do encourage you also to just take a moment and just honor yourself for making it this far. Honor yourself for showing up for your own story. Honor yourself for overcoming and becoming. Honor yourself for the legacy that you've already written, both figuratively and literally. And honor yourself for giving yourself the words, the grace, and the space to truly live, breathe, and evolve. That's a lot. That's a lot. That is a lot. And you made it. You made it. Let's just take a breath. This journey has been so much more than just writing. It has been in many ways a sacred act of creation. It's been a reclaiming of our voices. I mean, it's been a process of healing and most of all, a process of truly becoming, truly leaning into who we've become. And in module 1, we uncovered the heartbeat of our story, and that being the deep truth that was longing to be told. In module 2, we gave it some structure and framework, right? We shaped our experiences and all that it held and gave it meaning and clarity. In module 3, we entered the lake of our emotions, as I would refer to it, right? Where we surrendered to the depths of what we needed to feel, and what needed to be expressed openly and vulnerably with our readers. In module 4, we stepped into refinement, where we began strengthening and further clarifying our voice and then honoring our words with true intention. And now we're here. We're here. And we're at the threshold of completion, at the threshold of this sacred space where we release our story into the world. And I recognize that there's boundless layers of emotion that we could be feeling about that, right? But before we take that final step, I just invite you into one additional visualization, right? A meditation to really help you fully connect with your emotions, your story, your legacy, and the birthing of what you are bringing forward. And we're going to sit with them and honor them and let this guide us into our final words, our final scriptures and scribing. So as we close our eyes, we're just going to take a deep breath in and hold and just release out, fully expressed. Then we're going to take another deep breath in and hold for 4 seconds. And fully exhale out, fully expressed. Then we're going to take another deep breath in and hold for 4 seconds. And fully exhale out, full expression. And now in your mind's eye, see yourself sitting at your desk or your table, your space where you retreat to write, and your journal is open before you. Imagine you've been writing for hours, pouring your heart onto the page, and capturing a chapter that holds so much weight, so much emotion. And perhaps this is a chapter of loss, a chapter of triumph, but it's a moment of breakthrough, a truth you never imagined speaking out loud. You've written every word with intention, with honesty, and even with a courage that's truly your own and in your own unique expression. And with a deep, steady breath, you place your pen down. You sit back and you look at where you've written the words and you absorb what you've written. And the page before you, it's more than just paper and ink, but it's a mirror. It's a release. It's a piece of your soul made visible. And as you sit there, you just begin to feel it. The emotions rising, the energy shifting, and the pull bringing you in deeper. Now imagine that the space around you begins to shift and the desk dissolves. And you find yourself yet again at an endless lake. And the lake is alive. You can see the rhythm of its emotion and the ripples of its current. And there are waves of grief, there are waves of joy, there are waves of currents and love and pain. And there's ripples of resilience, ripples of transformation. The air is still, yet the water just glistens. And it's all lit under the soft sky. And you take a step forward, feeling the warmth of the water at your feet. And yet again, it welcomes you. It remembers you. It knows you. As you wade in deeper, yet again, the water rises, your knees, your waist, your chest, all becoming submerged in the water. But you're not afraid because you are held, you are safe, and every emotion that lives within you is here. And you're finally ready to fully meet them all, to move with them all, to let them all teach you what needs to be heard. So you take a deep breath and you surrender, just allowing yourself to float. The water supports you effortlessly. It's carrying you into the center of this sacred space. And you begin to feel everything. And it's not in a way that overwhelms you, but it's in a way that allows you to truly listen. You hear the whispers of your story and the ripples of the water. You feel the unspoken words and the waves that move beneath you. And you begin to recognize emotions that you once pushed away. And yet they're now rising like gentle tides, and they're asking, pleading to be acknowledged. And so you do. You hold space for them, you let them flow through you, and you're not in any sense of resistance. You are in full trust and full surrender. So you're just allowing, and you soften into the knowing that every emotion, every word, every piece of your story is valid, is necessary, and worthy of being told. And it's here in this moment that you are complete, whole, perfect, and complete. Not because the journey has ended, not because the journey has been perfect, but because you have given yourself fully to it and embodied and accepted the journey. So the water begins to calm, and with one last deep breath, you just allow yourself to rise. You wade back to the shore and you're stepping onto solid ground, feeling lighter, clearer, and even more certain than ever before. And yet again, waiting for you on the shore is your journal. You open to the page you last wrote, but now it feels different. It's no longer just a collection of words. It is a testament to your journey, your life, a bridge to your next chapter, a gift that is waiting to be shared. You pick up your pen, and this time, you're writing not from hesitation, but from knowing, not from fear, but from full inner trust, and not from doubt, but from completion and full surrender. Ah, how does it feel to be here? Take one deep breath in and slowly exhale. And when you're ready, we will wiggle our fingers, our arms, our toes, and bring ourselves back to this space, this very moment, and open our eyes. And as we take a few moments just to write, what has surfaced for you in this moment? What has been revealed? What did you learn about yourself that you didn't know about yourself before embarking on this experience? How does it feel to sit in completion? How does it feel to know that your story is ready? Feel free to pause this video here and take as much time as you need to reflect. And as you come back, we now will be moving into Module 5, final week 5. And we are fully present, fully empowered, and fully aligned with the truth of who we are and what we will share. Let's begin. So, family, we are back. We are back. I am so excited because we are here at week 5. It's been 5 weeks of journeying together. It's been 5 weeks of journeying with your prior versions of yourself, meeting them again, speaking with them again, and dialoguing and your scripture, right? Your writings, your scribing, in order to articulate your journey from both the version of you that existed before and the version of you that exists today in alignment with all the embodiment of your experiences. And we are back again with the Book Bootcamp. And this time we are preparing for manuscript submission. We are preparing for the actual publication of our manual. And as we move into that, I'm going to go ahead and move us back into our database. And we're actually going to go directly into Module 5, which is preparing for submission. And we'll get started. We will get started.
Okay.
Okay. And here we are. Here we are. So we're moving into Module 5, preparing for submission. And we're on the first subcategory of finalizing your manuscript because we made it. It's been a labor of love. It's been a return to prior versions of ourselves. It's been a deeper dive into self-discovery. And it's been a journey of holding ourselves, right? Holding ourselves in all the past and present versions, so that we can actually bring our journey to to becoming our legacy, to becoming our legacy forward. So whether you are aspiring to make this your first and only manuscript, or you're aspiring to be a storyteller and an author moving forward with additional ventures, or you're looking to have this be a packaging of your healing experience in order to be a demonstration of your authority, or your ability to communicate your journey as a wellness advocate, no matter which path you take with this, you at this point have now arrived in a place where it's up to you how you give it legs, right? How you bring it forward truly to the masses. And that's going to really be about you becoming very comfortable in your narrative, being very confident in what you've brought forward in terms of your framework and what you're communicating to the world, and being very clear about what God's purpose has been in you, what the Most High's purpose has been in you, and what you've been called to distribute in terms of lessons to those who are brought onto your energetic path. So here is where our books now begin to take flight, right? And here is where we begin to firm up our thought leadership and really get clear about what the purpose was, right? So at this point, it's where you've now tied in your themes and you've pulled forward all those key events. You have brought both the logical parts of the experience forward as well as those emotional aspects to it. And you have given it a full embodiment experience on a page where you have expressed yourself utilizing all your senses. And at this point now, we are clarifying the story further through the purpose, right? Further now fortifying that core message as you read through it yourself. You're taking back any feedback that you've received from your editor or editors, right? And you're really now at this point of now mastering your narrative structure, right? So you have at this point mapped out your story. You've used your framework for yourself, right? If you're going to be communicating it as a framework that is viable and works, making sure that you have now stepped through it again as your own observer so that you cover any gaps that maybe you've left out, right? And ensuring that it's an engaging read and that it's a flow and that it is impactful as it has been lived within you. And so at this point also, you'd be honing your storytelling skills and really crafting those characters, right? And we've talked a lot about in the prior modules, you know, being conscious of crafting the characters in a thoughtful way where you have articulated that this is your perception and your articulation of the experience, but that you're not necessarily speaking for anyone else, right? And ensuring that your dialogue has been as impactful as you intended for it to be, and that it's as emotionally resonant as you wanted it to be. And at this point now, you know, we're going to be looking at gaining more information on self-publishing and navigating the basics of the formatting of that, the editing of that, and even the our abilities to be self-promotional, right? To really promote our work. And we're also going to be cultivating a confidence as a writer. At this point, you know you can do it because you've done it. If you're at this juncture, if you're at this module, you've begun writing and you are quite well aware that you can do it, right? And so it's overcoming any self-doubts that you had. You've overcome any writer's blocks that you had, and you move through them using your introspective journaling, right? And taking action on the feedback that you've received. And so at this point, you'll also be creating a ready to submit manuscript, right? That's polished and ready for whether it's going to be an anthology submission, which could be up to 2,000 words typically, or if it's going to be an actual full length manuscript and book standalone on its own, right? And then we're reminding ourselves yet again about why we did this, right? Why we came on this journey and what we stand to gain and to also share, right, energetically by indulging it. So as we step through finalizing the manuscript, now we are finally into the space of understanding self-publishing. And I'm calling this a revolution because it really is. If you do any actual research on the evolution of publishing, you'll recognize, very quickly that there have been both pain points as well as beautiful experiences shared by many people on the traditional path of publishing, right? Yet, I'm sorry, I see that there's a hand.
Greetings, Sister Tanasia. I have a
Feel
question.
free to speak into the call.
Can you hear me?
Oh, maybe it was a hand raised by accident. That's okay.
No, no, I'm speaking. I can't.
So there have been both pain points as well as, extremely beneficial experiences that many people have had in going the traditional path of publishing. But there has been this game-changing energy on self-publishing. And the reason that I am here actually sharing self-publishing is because I have myself, been able to realize the benefits of it in many ways. It has taught me how to truly own my own story. It has taught me how to live the words in my pages. It has taught me how to become both the student and the teacher in experiencing my book. And it has taught me all these things because I've had to really embody this in order to be able to communicate its impacts to anyone else, right? Sometimes when we pass these kinds of projects on to someone else to market it for us, to someone else to cascade it and tell the story, um, at times it can lose some of its value, right? In terms of there may be parts of this experience that never made the page, but is worthy of expressing in a discussion when you're sharing with someone the reason why you wrote the book. And yes, you can actually articulate that to someone else to speak on your behalf, but there is just, my grandmother always says this, right? There is nothing like hearing it from the horse's mouth. Right? And each time we get to tell the reason why we went down this path, the reason why we brought forward this work, the reason why we put it into the legacy of pages, we are affirming ourselves energetically each and every time. So I have found it to be a revolution of sort, right? That it's a way of really stepping in and owning our experience in a big way. And it's also allows us to then own all the rights to it, right? As well as any energetic exchanges that are tied to it. It allows us to be a part of the control of the work in terms of its distribution, right? Its modification, its revisions, right? Where the work is shared, we get to energetically be at the driver's seat of this now, right? And really owning our story in a way that we may not have ever done prior to compiling this manuscript. So we're going to be exploring the self-publishing process today. And we're also going to be doing some, again, and always, right, because this is Journal Jam, some reflective journaling. And we're going to talk again about key components that help us to identify and elaborate on the most essential elements of the self-publishing, whether it's the writing, the editing, the design, the distribution, or even the marketing. Okay. Because you can do it. You've done this and you can do the rest. So, starting with the first step, which would be, of course, right, the writing process, so to speak, right? And so this is where your unique voice and your story comes alive, and you've written this book, right? You've written this manuscript, and what you want to be conscious of is what inspired you to write it. You want to get crystal clear about your truth about this because you're going to be asked about it over and over and over again, right? And you want it to be authentic, right? You want it to be what you return to in your expression of it every single time. So you want to get very clear about what inspired you to write it. Now, what inspired you to write it and what fortified you and kept you on the path of completion could be different, right? But so you want to get clear first about what inspired you. And then you want to be clear about what your themes are, what your messages are. That's your framework, right? What did God bring and what did the Most High deliver into your spirit in order to communicate with others, in order to communicate it with your readers, to your audience, to the world? For me, it was that surrender was the way, right? For me, it was soft living is possible even here on earth, right? For me, it was about the balance of, soft power and divine femininity meeting, right? And coexisting together and being a guiding light for me and my life and potentially for others, right? So what is your theme? What is your message? What do you want to convey? And then who is your target audience? Who is this for? Who is this for? Right? And you want to, just giving an example here, right? This is like, imagine that you wrote this memoir and it's about your healing journey or about a life altering event. Reflect on how it shaped your desire to share the story. So far, you've reflected on writing the story, but reflect on how it's actually shaped your desire to. And so once you've completed that, right, the thought, now you're moving into what feedback did you receive from your beta readers, right? So if you've given this out to other people to read it, to experience it, what feedback did you get? If you've given this to an editor or editors, what feedback did you get, right? What changes did you make based on their suggestions? This is all talking points too, right? Imagine yourself being seated on a podcast. Imagine yourself, being on the radio. Imagine yourself being in front of an audience and you want to give the raw and uncut, challenges that you experienced in birthing this book, right? So if you could compare this to the birthing experience through the womb, whether you're male, female, doesn't matter, but just comparing it to what you know of a birthing experience through the womb, recognizing that there may be parts of it that were in flow, right? And there may be parts of it that were a challenge, right? And when you tell the story of the birthing experience, it's in balance of it all. So what changes did you make? What hurdles did you overcome? What challenges? What things did you tweak? Which ways did you further empower the story or add to the lesson? What lessons were you aware of before you wrote the book, but then new lessons surfaced after? All of these things you want to be clear about because even if it doesn't make it inside of your book, these are the things that are going to help you to market it, to talk about it, to find the audience who it's going to serve. How did the editing process enhance your manuscript, right? Because if it enhanced the manuscript, it enhanced your legacy, your living of the journey, right? It enhanced the way you speak about it because it perhaps has enhanced the way you see it, right? So once you're clear about all of that, now you have what you need in terms of setting up descriptions where you're going to place this, whether it's going to be on your website, whether it's going to be on Amazon, whether it's going to be in other publishing formats and other forums. you now have your go-to in terms of your description on, who this is to connect with, right? Who you intended for it to connect with, understanding that it may connect with people who you didn't even intend. It may resonate in ways that perhaps even go beyond the way your journey resonated even with you. But the best you can do is to articulate that in terms of your description. Once you've done that, now to further bring forward this birthing, we're looking at cover design. So when you close your eyes and you think about what this feels like visually, right? When you ground yourself into your emotion, your feeling around the completion of this work, what colors do you see in your mind's eye? What do you envision on the cover, right? Because a compelling cover is also vital for attracting readers, right? So you want to think about and reflect about, what do you want your cover to look like? Some people actually choose, especially if it's a memoir, to put themselves on the cover. And in many ways, I can see how that can be very energetically appealing, right? Because as we attract people into our physical world, we can also attract them into this literary world also by what they see, what they perceive, what they are energetically drawn to in terms of our own image, right? So that's always something you can do. But you can also consider, other images. Is there an element, perhaps, whether it's air, fire, water, that resonates with you when you think about this journey? Maybe it's all of these things, right? Are there any elements that you would like to include? And when I say elements, it doesn't have to mean that it's a graphic of the element. Maybe there are colors that are notable of that element that you'd like to bring forward. For example, using myself as the subject again, right? When I wrote Surrendering to Soft Living, it was all about being in the essence of flow, and nothing makes me feel more in the essence of flow, recognizing that there will also be ripples and tides and the currents, than water. And so although the cover of my book doesn't physically show you a picture of water, it gives you the essence of it and the capture of its color, right? So there's blue, there's lots of shades of blue and shadowing to really give a feeling of communicating that essence of that element. So what element stands out to you, and how do you bring forward that element, in your cover, right? So that's one way to think about it. And I would say that remembering that the meat of this experience has really been what you were putting inside of your book, right? So you don't want to, you know, um, spin your wheels too long overthinking what your cover is going to look like. And in fact, one of the things that I have researched and I recognize even from books that I love reading is that oftentimes they change the cover, right? If you can think about a book that you've read that perhaps you've seen it with various covers, right? It is okay to go back and change it later on, right? It's about where you are today, what tools you have available to you today, and what communicates the essence of this book for you today. So that's the cover. When we're thinking about formatting, right? So, you want to ensure that your book has a professional feel to it, that it's, in both print and digital formats, right? Recognizing that in today's world, you will be able to expand your reach more so if you do put it in both print and digital, because then you're catering to the preferences of your readers, right? There will be people who will like to listen on the go, and there'll be people who like to annotate. Like I'm an annotator, right? Where I like to go in and kind of mark things up and write it down. And there have also been times where I do both, right? Where there's a work that I am so engrossed in reading that even when I don't have time to annotate, I want to be able to listen, right? And so therefore I might be a double reader for you, right? Because I might get the book in print and then also the digital format. So you want to be thinking about that, and you want to be reflecting on the tools or services that you would use to format. You also want to be thinking about the ISBN number and copyright, right? So here's a fun fact about copyright. If you were to mail your manuscript to yourself, it serves as copyright. It is proof in and of itself that you are the creator of it, okay? But then there are ways to dive into this to even firming it up even further. And an ISBN number also, it's referred to as the International Standard Book Number. It's necessary for distribution, right? So you're going to need that when you put it on other platforms. It's the way that the books travel, right, and journey through different markets is actually consolidated to one view, right? So when you see something like an author has become, a New York Times bestseller, or like myself, an Amazon, bestseller, the way that is calculated, right? The way to track that is through the ISBN number. That'll be your own way to, at some point, be able to consolidate your reach, right? So, you're going to reflect on the importance of copyright and also protecting this as your intellectual property. Yes, because your intellect is also property. And so then there are the distribution channels, right? So you're going to decide where you want to sell your book. Now, what's nice about Amazon is that you can both publish and sell in the same space, right? You can actually use their KDP publishing in order to publish your manuscript, and then you can also distribute it in the same space of Amazon. And now Barnes and Noble also does also have publishing and then also distribution, right? So another way you'd be able to do this distribution would be through your own website. You could choose that you don't intend to market this in a space where a percentage, right, of the exchange has to go to a third party. You could have this all come directly into your own website, right? Or you could decide that you're going to distribute through local bookstores, right? There's a bookstore that I absolutely love and adore. It's called Book Paradise here in Long Island in New York, where I live. And I frequent there all the time. It's one of those places where you have to climb over books and you have to get on a ladder to go up to the top to see what's up there. And it's organized by, genre, but not necessarily organized in the way that a library would. And there's just something that really lights me up about going to an old bookstore like that, and just exploring and allowing my spirit to carry me towards a specific work. So I loved it so much that I returned there, and I actually had conversation with the owner about the fact that I'm also an author, and then I was able to also list my book there at that local bookstore. And it just made me feel good to know that it was among the other intellectual property that so many others have dropped off there, right? And that it will energetically find its way to some reader even right here locally, where not far from where I live. So, I have done all three. I sell on Amazon, I sell through my website, and I also, sell through local bookstore. And you get to reflect on the pros and cons of each channel. You might start to recognize that one works better for you than others. You might recognize that perhaps you don't need to sustain the fees of operating, and maintaining and hosting a website if your book is finding its way to people through Amazon, but the one or another third party. But one of the things that I will caution there is that if you intend to remain connected with your readers, it is really great to have a website, because the website is where you could actually ask them to register by giving either a telephone number or an email address, and giving you a way to follow up with them in the future, right? So if there are going to be additional parts of this journey, if the book, your manuscript, is just going to be one leg of it, and there are going to be retreats, there are going to be workshops, there are going to be book clubs and book studies, and any other experience that's going to be somehow tied to this, or if there are going to be new experiences in the future where you already have that sixth sense that there's going to be more to this journey for you in terms of maybe another book, you might want to be able to retain information from your readers so that you can let them know directly. It's a really nice personal touch to have. So your website would be the best place to do that, because when you share it on a place like Amazon, you will see the sales, but you will not know who your actual buyers were, who your actual supporters were, right? You will if they tell you about it. You will if they tag you in it, like I've experienced also. But you won't necessarily know case by case, and you can know that through your website. So those are just some things to consider. And then in terms of the actual publishing process, it's your time right now. It is your time right now to take action on it. And these prompts are actually going to help guide your experience, right? So it's what steps will you take to publish your book? How will you market your book to reach, your target audience? What strategies will you implement to gather reviews and build your author platform? All of that, right? One of the things that I can share that I did was before I actually, well, not before I published it, but before it was published to the public, right? Because it takes a few days in between. So for me, I published through Amazon, and I want to say within about 3 days or so, I published through Amazon KDP Publishing. Within about 3 days or so, it was then published to the public, right? So I submitted it to them. It goes through their review. It goes through review for content purposes, and it goes through review for formatting purposes, right? And then from there, it goes public. And for some people that becomes a sticking point, right? You will get feedback from KDP, for example, if there's any inconsistencies there or things that they need you to adjust, revise, modify, and take a look at before they'll be willing to publicly publish it, right? But you're going to move through all of that. So what I did was, in those days in between, so after I clicked publish, I sent emails out to people who I trusted their feedback, right? And I say trusted their feedback because there will be people who love you and want to support you, right? And there will be people who love you, want to support you, and will give you critical feedback that's very necessary. And that might be different populations of people. It could be the same population of people, but it could be different, right? So you really want to be intentional about getting into the hands of people who will be giving you some critical feedback, right? And what I did was I asked them to produce a review for me, right? Like, to me, just to let me know their review. And it helped me to now not only look at the description of how I describe my book, but it also helped me to give further description from another lens, from the lenses of other readers, and incorporate the two ideas, the three ideas, however many ideas, into how I describe my book for the audience that it serves. All right, so that's something to consider when you're thinking about gathering reviews. You can do that even before you publish. All right. And so just remembering that self-publishing, like I said, it is revolutionary. It is very empowering because you get to own this whole experience and, in your own way, and really shape and share the way that it is communicated with the world. And so at this point, again, just to recap, it's about what inspired you to write the book, what feedback did you receive, and how did it enhance the experience or the manuscript itself? What elements, of self-publishing do you most find important to you? And then what strategies are you going to use in order to publish and market your book? All right. So now we're going into developing a marketing strategy. All right. So when we're thinking about the marketing strategy, it's a crucial step, right? What I will say is that if you already have any forum or platform where you are sharing yourself, right? You are sharing your experience, you are sharing your journey. That of course, is going to be the first space that you go to share that this is what you've developed, that this is what you've done, because there's already a layer of support and interest, right? And if it is beneficial to those who you've been serving in your immediate sphere of influence, then they're going to then tell other people about it. And then that creates a marketing ripple, right? Just like water, it's going to create that ripple. And so you're going to go to them first, right? And you're going to say, hey, this is what I've done. This is why I've done it. And, I invite you to explore it, right? And then it's going to amplify your message from then on in other spheres, right? As people begin to express how it has benefited them in some way. And it's also a great idea to check back with the people who have told you that, they've actually read your book, and ask them then if they would be willing to write a review. And that's going to be in many different places, right? Like there are platforms like Goodreads where people will write a review. Sometimes people will do a review right on social media. People may do a review in LinkedIn, or it could be on Amazon or someplace in a platform like that. But you can get reviews by many, many means and many places. All right. So in here, as you market, you want to think about, again, writing down 3 specific characteristics of your intended reader, your intended target audience, right? So you're going to consider things like their age, maybe their professions, the different challenges that they may face. Like you want to get a very good idea of your reader, and your reader in many ways may look like you, right? When I say look like, not meaning physically, but meaning look like the experiences that have brought you to this place. But they may also not look like you in your current version of yourself. They may look like you in prior and past versions of yourself, right? Or they may not look like you at all, right? But the best you can do here is to get as specific with your own characteristics that brought you through every stage in your life to this moment. And at the very least, you'll know that that's already your ideal reader, right? And so once you've identified your ideal reader, now you're going to think about their needs and their preferences and what problems does your book actually solve for them, right? So when you're thinking about your marketing strategy, it almost sounds just like, and I'm going to reference the Super Bowl in this moment, right? Because if you're venturing through this experience, and perhaps you're in the US, or even if you're not, and maybe you're familiar with the football experience of the Super Bowl, or maybe not, right? But just to articulate it with as much clarity as I can, you know, when it comes to marketing, it's one of those events where it is like the most watched event, one of the most watched events in the US, right? And so during that time, people really get intentional about their marketing and their commercials for whatever it is that they are looking to introduce to the world, right? And so if you were thinking about watching let's say a commercial that grabbed your attention, it likely grabbed your attention with something visual. It likely grabbed your attention with some sort of an emotional expression. It likely grabbed your attention with immediately showing either a need or identifying a problem right up front, right? And it also, in some way, is going to now bring you through a quick story that's going to show you how this thing or experience that's being marketed is going to now actually benefit and solve your problem, right? So that's how you would look at your book. You're going to look at it like, how do I, in a quick annotation, think about that, what that looks like. What does my book look like as a commercial? And so if your book is about healing through personal stories, your audience may be individuals that are seeking enlightenment or awakening and inspiration and guidance on their own healing journeys, right? So for example, a prompt would be reflect on how your book addresses the needs of your audience and write down at least 2 ways that your book can provide value to them. And now that you have a clear depiction of your audience, right? It would then be time to bring forward your concept, right? So what key messages do you want to communicate to your readers? I made it very plain, right? Because just being as authentic as possible, I stayed within the true theme of what this experience has been for me. And I keep referencing the element of water, right? So when I then made my book reels, right, for pages like Instagram, I had, of course, water in it. I had water in it, right? Because it's consistent with the overarching theme and feeling that I'm bringing forward in the experience of the book. So it's that simple, right? If water or any other element, fire, whatever else, air is the thought for your cover, bring your cover to life in some way in the imagery of your actual marketing. So you're going to write down 3 key messages that you want to convey through your marketing, right? And those messages could be very simply this the same ideas that went into, your considerations for your cover. You're going to then create a list of 5 marketing strategies that you could use to promote your book. Where are 5 places that you can now share about your book? Whether it's through email, whether it's through social media, whether it's through book signing events, collaborations with influencers, your friendship circles. You're going to list at least 5 different places where you're going to commit that you're going to share about this journey, right? And so if you choose social media, you're going to consider what platforms you're going to use, right? What content will you create? How often are you going to post, right? So for each strategy, write down the sources, write down your resources rather. So your time, your budget, your tools that you're going to need in order to execute effectively. So this is journal gem, right? So you are writing all these things out. We are getting it down on paper because it's from the paper that it manifests into fruition. And then we're going into, how are you going to track your book sales and your social media engagement and email open rates, right? So you want to be thinking about that. One of the spaces that I definitely recommend in terms of being able to track most of that information is if you intend to make some sort of a website or simple landing page, right? Because you're always able to get some back end information from that. So that's a definite space to do it. But you can also do it just through social media. And you can also do it with good old paper and pen, right? This is journal gem. So you can certainly do that too. And then write down at least 2 metrics that you're going to use in order to measure the success of your marketing, right? So if you are looking at it in terms of, well, I'm on social media, is it effective? Well, what you're sharing, are you getting feedback from viewers, whether it's that they're interacting with it, they're engaging with it, or otherwise, right? And I would just say, give it time, because if this is new for you and you haven't been in those spaces already and already kind of drumming up an audience there, it takes time for the algorithms on social media and other spaces to really find you and establish who your core audience is. And one of the best ways to bring your audience to you is for you to go to your audience, right? So if let's say you were writing a book about sports, viewing through your social media platforms other sports content, right, is going to teach your algorithm that that's your interest, right? And then commenting or engaging with other content that is seemingly in alignment with what you're doing is going to teach, again, the algorithm that that is your interest, right? And so then when you couple that with now putting a post up that is also now about sports, it teaches the algorithm that not only are you interested in viewing content about sports, but you also share content about sports. And that is how you build a relationship with the algorithms on social media in order to communicate. Now, there are going to be hundreds of thousands of videos to tell you how to do that. And I'm not here to share the intricate details on how to build a social media engaging platform. But what I will tell you is, by now in this experience, you know how spirit driven I am and how obedient to spirit I am. And I did not truly do anything that I've ever read or heard anyone tell me to do in terms of building Journal Gem online or building support around my book online. I did what spirit called me to do and what seemed logical to me, which is what I just shared, right? What was logical was that showing this tool that I'm going to use, what I'm interested in and what I'm here to do to serve, made sense to me. And I didn't force myself to go live every Tuesday or force myself to create, any particular type of videos or anything like that. I shared what was on my heart to share. And what was most important was that I was consistent. So I literally created my Journal Gym Instagram page, which today, so we actually just celebrated a few days ago where we've now crossed the threshold of over 12,000 supporters, right? I don't like calling it following, even though that's the technical phrasage, right? I feel like it's more support, but it's a huge milestone. But I will tell you this, I started at zero, right? So I created a brand new page for Journal Gym. I started it at zero. I did not tell anyone from other pages, hey, come on, and follow me here. I just shared my service, right? Which it was then and it still is today that I share affirmations. I'm a writer, so there will be lots of written content there. And so I share inspiration, I share tools, I share journal prompts right there. And I allowed energetically my content to find people who were looking for it. That's it, and I did give it some help by using hashtags and things like that. So I encourage you to do that. But yeah, I say do what feels like the thing that you will be able to be most consistent at. It doesn't make sense, to tell yourself that you have to do something you're uncomfortable doing, because if it's going to now slow down your marketing because you're not going to be able to do it consistently, then. And when I say consistent, I just want to clarify too, consistent, in my opinion, doesn't mean it has to be daily. It just has to be consistent. So whatever you decide energetically and spirit wise, you want to be obedient to, making sure that you're showing up and you're being consistent in that. That's all. Okay, and so then it's about creating a simple timeline, outlining when you're going to launch, right, the strategy and what specific goals that you're looking to achieve, right? So just pulling it all together, it's about identifying your audience, crafting your key messages, brainstorming, those strategies, organizing your plan, measuring success, however that measure is going to be for you, right? And then creating a timeline. I just want to share that when I first published my book, my measure of success was I wanted one day for someone in my family, right? And specifically, I was thinking maybe my grandchildren one day, right? Or my great grandchildren, or even great great grandchildren down the line someday, to be able to read about my journey, right? And hear my story from me, right? And to be able to pass on my wisdom and keep it in my lineage. So for me, that would have been my measure of success, right? So if not one other person this book landed in the hands of other than someone and my offspring, I was already in my eyes, going to be successful. So the minute my son, my daughter, my sister, my husband, anyone actually put their hands on my book, I deemed it as a success, right? So I just, open you up to that idea, and invite you to the idea that you get to really shape what your measure of success truly is in this, okay? And then you're going to create your timeline. You're going to set some deadlines for yourself, and you're going to implement your strategies and achieve your goals. And why do I believe you can do this? Because you've already done it. If you are already in module 5, week 5, you have already done this. So you can hold yourself equally accountable in doing the rest. As we move on to building your author platform, right? You're going to make sure that you're engaging with your audience through reflective writing. You're going to keep sharing your expertise now, right? Your story with the world, with others. Keep talking about it, right? If this work, this legacy, this journey, this experience has been delivered to you so that you can share it, then the biggest part of this going forward is going to just be the sharing, right? Right now, if you're still in the works of writing it, then that's going to feel, of course, right, energetically like the most critical part of this and the biggest part to get through. But once you do that, forever and ever, the next stage of this is always going to be about sharing it, okay? So you want to make sure that there's visibility to your story. You want to make sure there's credibility to you and your story, right? You want to make sure that there's engagement, and that looks different always, right? I have done everything from vendor experiences where I'll, had a table and a space where I could connect with people who will be in that space to share about what my book is about. And I love doing that, because in that moment, you're able to really connect with the person, and they're able to share with you what they're perhaps hoping to get from it. And you're able to share with them not only what you wrote, but what you got from it as well, why you return to your own work again and again. And build a relationship with not only you, but then already build a relationship with the book, right? So that it doesn't become the thing that they bring home, but they shelve, not that that's a bad thing, because you can go back to anything on your shelf, but you want them to recall some sort of an energy and experience with it so that it interests them to truly open the pages of it. And I found that in-person experiences really help you to do that. But you want to think about how you're going to engage, right? All right. So whether it's going to be, again, you're going to be defining that audience, creating your website, building a media presence of some sort, engaging with your writing someplace, building an email address. We talked about that, right? Where if you have a landing page or a website, it's one of the best ways to be able to build an email list. And also when I do in-person events, I just do paper and pen. I have the same book that I bring every time, and I just let people kind of write it down. I love the nostalgia of going back and even looking at the pages of where I may have met someone at a book signing, or what met someone at a vendor event, and now that someone has become, more personally connected from me, and having it in the book, so that just opening you up to that idea too. But it's going to be heavily about networking and collaborating. Finding other authors to collaborate with is always great too. So those are some thoughts there. All right, so that's building the platform. And then there's, of course, preparing for your launch. Preparing for your launch. This is the most exciting part of it all. At this point now, you have your description for your book. You know who your target audience is. You know your clarity, and you have your clarity on your reasons why. You have your marketing tools already ready to go. You have your cadence of how often you want to share in those spaces. You have your mode of sharing, right? And then now it's just a matter of executing on the idea, right? So there's some power in planning. So you're of course going to be doing that. And in terms of your prompt, it will be, once again, what inspired you? Keeping that forefront and in front of your mind, right? What were your challenges? Write about your experiences, your emotions, your lessons learned. It's simple. It's a rhythm, right? You're going to keep returning to that, right? You're going to, again, you're going to be analyzing your strengths, analyzing the areas that, might be opportunities for you, okay? Where do you need to improve? So what does this mean? If you know that you have a strength in storytelling, but your strength is not necessarily in creating your cover, your strength is not necessarily in creating your online presence, your strength is not necessarily in creating your visual content, outsource it. right? You don't need to exhaust yourself. There are plenty of people who find this work very intriguing and amplifying and activating, right? Including myself, right? So I'm also going to be sharing with you ways to connect with me if you'd like to, further expand on this experience and you want to then have me assist you in the creation of your cover, if you want me to assist you in the launch of your marketing tools, if you want me to assist you in the coaching you through the actual publishing process, that is something that I can also help you with. And I'll be giving you links on how to sign up to engage with me directly to do that. Okay. It's not that it can't be done on your own, because I'll be quite honest with you, I did, right? And I'm telling you that if I could do it, you can too. But I also recognize that we all have different talents that we lean into, and those that, even if it's something we can do, it may not be something that we enjoy doing. So it's perfectly fine to hire someone else, right, in order to help in those areas. And I can be a resource for you there. You're going to set those smart goals, right? Those specific, measurable, actionable, results driven, right? Tasks that are goals that, they're going to be measurable, achievable, relevant, time specific, right? So that you can actually accomplish your launch goals, right? So example would be, if you want to sell 500 copies in a month, how are you going to do that? If you want to gain 1,000 followers or, subscribers and supporters on social media, how are you going to do that? If you want to secure 3 speaking engagements within 2 months, how are you going to do that, right? And get creative. Start to seek it. Right? Get your research going there. And again, I can be a resource for you, right? You can hire people, including myself, right, in order to be a resource on coaching you through how to get this done, right? There's also the journaling prompts, right, of creating your launch plan. So, you're going to outline those steps that you're going to take in order to achieve your goals. Your target audience, you're going to, again, go back to that document where you have already described who you're trying to reach, who your audience is, right? And the marketing strategy. What methods do you want to use? How do you want to promote, right? And your timeline for these tasks. You're going to be thinking about all of that. So to give an example here of a launch plan, right? So is it women aged 25 to 45? Is it men aged, 25 to 45 that are interested in, personal development? Is it everybody? Are you going to market through social media campaigns like Instagram and Facebook, maybe TikTok or other spaces, YouTube? Are you going to create an email newsletter, for existing subscribers? Are you going to engage in collaborations with other influencers and, perhaps utilize their social presence in order to be able to reach your audience, right? And then your timeline, are you going to start building your email list prior to your launch, during your launch, continue throughout? How are you going to do that? And then also, the 1 month before, you're going to begin your promotional campaigns and reaching out to influencers, start drumming up some energy, right? To really give it that throw as it comes in, let the momentum build. And then there's launch day. Are you going to host a virtual launch party? Are you going to host a small family party? Are you going to host yourself in ceremony? What does that look like for you to launch and celebrate? And then finally, that last journal prompt is, how do you feel about the plan that you've created? What excites you the most about your upcoming launch? And then writing down your thoughts and emotions as you prepare for this chapter. But at this point, you've done it. You've done it. You've done it. One of the things I can tell you about KDP Publishing is that it's very intuitive. Very intuitive. When you go onto their page to load your manuscript, There's a lot of guidance there about, page formatting. There are specific templates that you can download directly on KDP Publishing also in order to copy and paste your manuscript directly into the template. You can choose the dimensions, right? The size. So if you envision that your book will be a 6x9, you can choose that. And then there's a calculator there that'll say if your manuscript is this many pages and you'd like to use a 6x9 format, it'll tell you exactly what size and dimensions you need to use for your cover layout. Okay, so I am a big advocate of utilizing the tools that are available to you in KDP Publishing. And again, I could be a resource for you as well to help step you through that at that juncture when you're ready. Okay. And also there are sites like Fiverr also where you can go and source other people too. That could be a book coach for you or even a launch coach for you in terms of your book, right? In addition to me being a resource for you. Okay, so I definitely recommend KDP Publishing. And at this point, I just want to say, let's move the body and shake and just celebrate. Let the body know. Let the body know that we have come to a place of pure celebration at this point, that the biggest part of this has been living the experience, and that the secondary level of this has been documenting and in so many ways reliving the experience. And now we are in a place where we are going to share it. So with that said, I'm going to open it up to how are we feeling at this point, recognizing that it is totally fine if you feel like there's still layers to this that you're moving through. There's still pages that you're moving through, writing. There's still format that you're working through. You know, it's all good, right? The truest and largest part of this assignment at this point is really to get your words out of your body, out of your spirit, right, and onto a page in a way that articulates it in a way that's fully expressed. And so with that, I'll now turn it to you all to say, how are we feeling? How are we feeling about where we are or even where we're going in terms of our writing? Let's see who's on.
Greetings, greetings, family. This is Chantel Sierra Shakim.
Okay.
I am just feeling so.
And Sister Chantel, I see that. Did you come off mute?
Can you hear me? You can't hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
It looks like you did.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Okay. Give thanks. I was like, this is Chantel Sierra Shakim. I said, greetings, family. I am so excited. So much has been poured into us in this book boot camp. I am so thrilled and so honored and so happy for the outpouring and the guidance that you've provided us, Tanasia. And my book is definitely evolving. Okay. So I have, if you guys remember, I have written an ebook based on my spiritual journey and just really implementing the things that meant the most to me as I've journeyed through it. But since going through the boot camp, I wanted to go back and put the meat on the bones, right? And really make it more personal and more more expansive in the information. So I'm slowly doing that in each chapter. And my prayers is that I can finish the journaling prompts and finish, what I missed last week and working through that, but to hopefully be ready to go to print. So I'm thankful for this information today. I know we had talked about KD Publishing, and I only went on once back when we spoke to do my registration, and I was like, I'm overwhelmed. But I think going through it, through the journal prompts and what you've provided, will help me be able to better navigate that, so that when it is ready, when all the meat's on the bone, I'll be ready to go live with it. And definitely thinking about the launching and how that'll look, and hoping that it'll be ready for my retreat. And just, I mean, it's all happening so quickly that I'm just like, I'm kind of like a deer in headlights, like, oh my God, this is really happening. Oh my God, this is really, really bringing something out of me into the world in a way that I never really thought it would. And it's even helping me to see it in real time, even as I continue to do the work and, read back through my book. It's just, I'm so emotional. Like, I'm just like, breathe, because this is what you were supposed to do. And it's just been so magical, I'll say, to just revisit it and to really see how I'm living this and how this is my life in form, in a material form that will last for generations and hopefully impact millions of other people who need what I have. So just like you are doing the work that people need what you have, it's so inspiring to see and to witness and to mirror. And I'm so thankful.
Oh.
And yeah, I am complete.
Ah, I just had to breathe into that. Like I felt the emotion there, and I so appreciate you, sis. It is so just divine to be a reflection of you. I give thanks. I give thanks. And, I just have to give you a shout out too, sis, because, when I was still just kind of pedaling, tricycle wise, right? Like with the training wheels on, let's call it, right? Really exploring my voice and how much of it I wanted to share with the world. You really were like, come on, bring it. Come on over here. Yes, yes, we want to hear what you have in your heart, and you offered a space for me to share, and in many ways it watered the garden that allowed me to bloom. So I just want to give you that shout, sis, and say thank you, Sister Chantal, for that as well. So I give thanks.
Yes, we're here in
Yeah.
October.
I give thanks. Thank you. And sis, I'm going to ask you to pass it to someone. Who would you like to pass it to?
I will pass it to my beautiful sister, Tasha. Is
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
Okay, come through, sis.
Natasha, peace and greetings, peace and greetings.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. So I'm feeling, thank you for that share, by the way, Sister Chantal. Um, I started off super excited and I just couldn't stop writing. I couldn't stop audio texting. I couldn't. And then I hit I think I got into my head a little too much. And so I paused for a little bit and and I felt a little bit bad about it because I'm like, okay, everything that you have created so far is so good and so authentic. And then it's like, well, what's the pause? Like, why do you feel stuck, or why do you? And so I'm just because I'm already an author. I wrote a book in 2021, published it. I had a book coach and all of that, and it was okay. The experience wasn't as um whatever, it was good, but then I joined an anthology not too long ago, which was not good at all. The experience was not good. um I think I did it because other people were saying like, oh, when's the next book coming, and I was like, I don't want to write another book. But then when the opportunity come to do an anthology, which is where a bunch of authors come together and write one book, I said, oh, I could definitely do one chapter. And it was about what would I tell my younger self, which was right up my alley. So at the time I felt like, yeah, this is something that I can do. This is something that I have a mentorship right now. This would be perfect. But the experience was so bad. And so I have not even promoted the book. I haven't shared the book. I haven't done anything with it. And so with Tanasia being, following the call and doing what she does, showing up when I signed up, it felt good. And then, like I said, I could not stop writing. I couldn't stop doing the audio. I mean, up in the middle of the night, like with my little energy drink and stuff. And I even shared this with her early on, and it was just so empowering. So when I started to think about the old experience and just feeling like, do I really want to do this? I jumped out the window last time, and so I think I paused there. But the funny part is I have a ebook. It's like a journal, a planner that I had created a while ago. And the other night, well, the morning, I wake up and it was like expand on the planner.
My
It
goodness.
literally, like as soon as I opened my eyes, I said, "Thank you, God, for waking me up." And it was like, your book is the planner. And I'm like, wow, so then it got me excited again.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just grateful for the pause, and I'm grateful that I didn't stay in my feelings and stay in my thoughts, and I just said whatever it's gonna be. And I appreciate you so much, Tanisha, because you're always saying like
Mm.
whatever the divine wants. I'm tapping into what that is and what that feels like, and so in adopting that for myself, and just the power is in the pause.
Mm.
Power is in the
Come on with
pause.
that. Come on with that.
And it just and then you wait for the feeling, and when the feeling is not there, you keep waiting and you keep waiting. So I'm grateful. I'm excited, like again, I'm excited again. And so thank you. And I will be sending the link, sis, because like you said,
You
you
already
said
know.
that
You already know. We will work together
this
for sure.
right, it's like things that you can do, but is that your zone or genius, and is it things that you like to do? Maybe not. And so being able to get that help, seek that help, and invest in that help is so worth it. So thank you
Oh my
again. I'm
goodness.
complete.
I give thanks. I give thanks for you. I know we in this space you are Sister Tasha, but you my pud, right? Like
Yes.
Tasha's my pud for years. And I just feel like we are sisters in this journey in many ways, even before we really had the language to articulate it the way we do
Mhm,
today. And so I just, I'm so grateful to hear you speak about your obedience because your faith has always been there, and my faith has been there, but it's
mhm,
the obedience to it and getting out of our own way sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you always being a reflection for me in that and I'm really grateful to witness where we are today, where we are spirit led. That's it,
mhm,
right? And when we're not clear, we are clear that that means we need to be still,
mhm,
and get more silenced and just go within and just get in a space where we can hear because the Most High is always speaking to us. And so I'm just grateful that I have not been journeying alone long before any of this, Tosh, right? Because I've had sisterhood in you, so I give thanks for you. Thank you for that.
thank you, thank you. And I am going to pass it to Sister Constance and Brother Truth.
The Constance for the truth. I know they put in the chat that they were having some technical difficulties. So I don't know if they're still. Are you able to come on?
Greetings, family.
There
Greetings.
they are.
Um, wow, where do I start at? First, Sister Tanisha, thank you so much. I cannot say my heart felt as just deep and overwarmed, just overwhelming with love because you did this, and it's something that I have wanted to do for a long time and have been afraid to take any steps. So when you set up this class, I was like, okay, this is perfect for me to learn, how to do this. But as it's gone along, I'm finding out there's so much more in me that's coming out as I'm writing. And so I keep going, well, what audience? Tonight you had a target audience, and I thank you for all the prompts, but it's like, well, who will my audience fit? I've asked myself, so I still have questions. Um, and then I know it's healing, like with all of the abuse there's healing, with all of the experience of life of overcoming addiction there's healing, but it seems like it's too long. Like I want my book kind of little, and it just seems like it's getting long now. So I love you and I thank you very much. I will be, when I get to the point to release the manuscript so you can read it, I would like you to read it, and then definitely whatever we got to do, for me to hire you, even if I have to hire you, sis. But
No, I'm here, sis. I'm
I,
here.
I definitely, I'm gotten kind of to a point of a little bit overwhelmed because it's getting really real and it's getting really long. So I don't know where to shorten it at or where to just add the key prompts, you not get long-winded in my writing. So, but I'm loving everything. Now, a launch date for me is looking like it's a little farther than it is closer.
Okay. Okay.
I'm like, okay, making sure I don't get uninspired in the in between. That's the main thing. But I love your journal, Jim, because it started me to actually looking at the prompts. Even if I just start answering the questions of the prompts, I might not want to write anything, but it's making me get to that journaling point, and then that's making me write more. Even if I go every other day, I feel proud that I'm accomplishing this. So I am so thankful. I'm so thankful. I've been really just sitting in gratitude. I haven't reached out. I've kind of been in quiet mode. I haven't even gotten on the chat in a while. So much is going on inside and outside of us. So, but I thank you for this. This boot camp has been wonderful for me. And I love you and I thank you. I'm so glad that I get a chance to be a reflection of you and all of our beautiful sisters. So
Likewise, sis, likewise, really and truly. And, you always remind me of the parts of myself that I forget, right? And so it says, whenever you call, text, reach out, remind, it's like always so timely. So I also really do need to thank you as well for your sisterhood. I really do, in many ways. And I'm here, when you're ready to move this thing forward and to launch. And I do want to just tell you too that if it's getting long and it's still relevant to your theme, sis, if it's a longer book, it's a longer book, right? Like if there's more to it, then there's more to it, right? And it's better for you to go ahead and give it all that you need to so that you feel like it has the fullness it does to tell the truth of your experience. And then when your editor, right, looks at this, if there are parts of it that are, repetitive or, duplicate experiences in any way, it can be called out at that point. So you don't have to worry about formatting at the same time as writing. Just let yourself be free with it.
okay.
Just write it. And then if it gets, stepped down anyway, or consolidated further, it'll be because there were parts that maybe you revisited, not because it's part you left out because you thought it was getting too long. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
it's all good. It's all good. And I just love from what you've shared and what everyone is sharing about how graceful you're being with the process and not feeling like you need to race it along, in order to hit some specific deadline. You say, insist that, it looks like it may be a further out date than what I initially intended. I love to hear that, right? Because that means that you're really journeying in grace and you're saying to yourself, you know what? It's going to take me a while to really, peel back the layers of this experience and really tell it in a way that communicates it fully. And I think that's great. I think that's beautiful. There are people who have said it. Like I think Queen has said it took her like 7 years to write her book, Queen of Afua, right? So I mean, when you not that it will take each of us to write a book, 7 years. I mean, it could, but if it does, it takes what it takes, right? And sometimes there might be parts of it that we're writing and we realize that we're being redirected because maybe there's part of it we need to be reliving in the moment, right? Like maybe there's something in our current experience that still needs to now go into it. So I just love that you're so graceful in how you're going about this. And I just encourage you to remain that way when you think about your format too. You don't have to, consolidate it. Not now, just tell it. Just tell it. That's it.
I give thanks. And with that, um, husband saying he wants to go last. So with
Okay.
that, I am passing the baton to Ashley, Sister Ash.
I think to Ashley, Sister Ashley. Oh my goodness.
Hey.
Great to have you on.
Hi, good night all. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Tanisha, I just want to say that you are so in tune. You mentioned the word gracious at the same moment where I was almost like practicing what I was going to say and say thank you to you throughout this process for being so gracious, right? Just for myself, feeling like I'm not always showing up, right? You never made me feel like I couldn't come back to the space and just be here. So I thank you for that also. I thank you for the tools that you've created, not only through the journal gym, but the book club as well, and just being able to have community, right? Sister Conscious mentioned not being in the chats, but I'm in the chats. I'm like a ghost reader almost. Like I'm just there reading things
I
because
love
it's
that.
coming through my watch as I'm working. And I love how everyone just keeps me inspired throughout my day. Like things could be happening, but I'll see my watch and I'm like, let me just stay positive because I know that there's something greater that's going to be published, that's going to, come full circle. So I really want to thank you for creating the spaces that you have created thus far throughout this journey for myself. It's been very beneficial. So now when we're talking about my journal, when we're talking about the book that we're creating, again, I want to thank you because not only have the prompts helped me to remind myself of, the process of what I've gone through and how I am, how I'm, how I came to where I am now, right? And this entire process has allowed me to build more community, right? Because I'm reaching out to individuals and because I'm creating a journal for budgeting, I'm reaching out to individuals and having vulnerable conversations about, where I am financially or where I want to be financially or my financial struggles and asking others what has their experiences been, what tools are they using or what little mantras do they tell themselves in order to get themselves motivated again to not be in a space of financial scarcity. So it's opened so many doors, not only for my sisters and community of people that I'm speaking to, but it's opened a major door for my mom and I to yet again take our relationship to the next level and me support her on her financial journey and us realizing that this wasn't a conversation that was taught at home and learning that together has also been super dope, right? Because I again I have to tell my mom she gets to have grace with herself and understand that I am still very much so successful in my own standings independently because of like I tell her the goat that she is. And it's been so amazing. Like I'm thinking like even for yes, we're talking about a book, but understanding the power of my voice and the amount of knowledge that I host in my mind just based off of my everyday experiences has shown me that damn I'm powerful. And I love
Say
you
that,
for
sis.
that.
Say that.
I love you. Like I love you. I love this group for that. And I know that what I'm going to publish, whether it be a podcast, whether it be this journal, is going to not only transform my life, but it's going to transform other individuals' lives that just hear the sound of my voice or just read the pages in the book. And it's going to open doors for them that I'm seeing open for myself just in this short period of time. And I haven't published the book yet, but I've been making sure to get very much so grounded in my everyday outlook of the life that I want to have for myself. So thank you.
Oh my goodness. First of all, whenever I hear your voice, it just like lights me up because there's just an energy that you carry, sis, that's just it's like magnetic and it's energizing, just energizing. And what's so divine is literally as and this is much like what you just said about me being in tune, sis, I'm a reflection of you. Because literally I was thinking about saying that to you about how just hearing your voice and your shares just does something to my spirit, just lifts me. And at that very moment, you said, whether it be a book or a podcast. And I'm just like, My God.
Thank you for that confirmation.
I'm telling you, sis, I mean, motivational speaking is what you do effortlessly. You know, whenever you speak into me, you speak into our group, it's just, there's just this motivation that immediately, energetically is associated with your energy. And so I'm grateful that you're expanding your thought on how you could utilize, you know, your sacred words. Your sacred words, you know, whether it be written or audio wise. Like I absolutely love that you're considering both paths, you know, so that's just amazing. And I'm really grateful that you've been journeying with me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness, y'all. My nose is about to be red in here because I'm getting emotional. I'm getting emotional. I'm just grateful. And I know, Brother Truth, you wanted us to circle the block for you. Is Brother Truth on?
I'm here.
Greetings, bro.
Greetings. It's not really circling the block. It was just run the runway so I can.
Run the runway. Okay, I'll take it.
There's a reason for that, because
Yeah.
sometimes we have to sit back and observe
Yeah.
in order to learn. And the initial term that stood out to me was about obedience.
Mm.
And of course, for the divine masculine, we have to learn that. Obedience. My mind works in a particular way, and things stick out to me. After the word obedience stood out, and Sister Tasha expressed that, and then in listening to my own second self, my own first self, which was conscious observance, observing myself, learn, meaning I learned from observing myself. Then it was what's within me. Then there was the next term that came was questions. And then it was about my story. And then she made a statement that she wanted it to be little. It's like, So the question was, why do I want it to be little? Where did that come from? If my story is big, why do I want it to be little? So even in the present moment, there's something active attempting to belittle my story. And why do I want to actually submit to that? Is that still a condition of the abuse? Because the abuse would want you to say less, not say more. So that came from there. And then from that, I wrote down lose control versus release control.
Okay.
I kind of want to repeat that and pause for a second. Lose or loose control, meaning to give away. Release control. Because if we're releasing something, we're in control of the, but to lose or to loose something, we may not be, especially to lose something. From there, my mind went to introspective. And it was in relation to journaling. To think deeply about one's own thoughts and feelings, or to examine one's own ideas and feelings instead of talking to others. Extrospective, which is the opposite, which means examining what is outside of oneself. Now, this particular course has been what I view, it has the potential to cause one to be introspective,
Yeah.
to look into one's own self,
Yeah.
to think deeply about one's own thoughts and one's own feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it this? Why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way? It started off, what is your story?
Mm,
What is your story?
right.
And if your story is actually orchestrated by outside forces, then it's not really your story.
Mm,
It's somebody else's story. And the last aspect, and the reason that I wanted to kind of be last, was I wrote down journaling, which is writing,
mhm,
versus speaking,
mhm,
recording. And actually, Sister Ashley spoke about that.
mhm, mhm,
And when we go to the foundation of what we're dealing with is the divine feminine and the divine masculine, we each have different attributes
mhm,
and we express ourselves differently. And,
mhm.
and we have to be okay with that.
Come on.
And when we enter into, like, I perceive, I'm entering into a divine feminine arena.
Mhm,
That's the majority. So the majority dictates the energy of the atmosphere of what
mhm,
we're
mhm,
existing in right now. So, and as you've expressed, what you have experiences tonight, as you have experiences, there was a creation that came out of you, which was Journal Jim, which was writing it down.
mhm.
So I have to accept that that is an aspect and an attribute of divine feminine. Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing something internally. And because of the atmosphere in which I have existed within up until now, I must write it.
Mhm,
I must write it because in writing it, it allows me to release it. And that's the primary, what I perceive that that is the primary expression in this time frame for divine feminine. Is not, it has not always been that.
mhm,
This reality that we live within, it is the most conducive, or it has shown up to be at this time, the most conducive for divine feminine.
mhm.
And divine masculine, because we have existed within a so-called patriarchal reality, man must speak. He must exert his energy through speaking. And oh gosh, wow. And the term came up, or the phrase, sacred words.
Mhm.
And we express them in writing as well as vocally.
That's right.
And it's about comprehending that we are each other's balance. I think I came into this to truly comprehend that and to learn obedience to that.
Mhm, mhm,
I cannot make Sister Constance into Brother Constance.
mhm, mhm.
And so I've had to observe other sisters expressing themselves in a divine feminine way to be able to comprehend how she expresses herself.
Okay. Mhm, mhm.
So,
Yeah. Ashe.
and with that, I'll yield. But the main idea that stood out to me is the
Mhm.
difference between journaling and speaking, and how does it show up within divine feminine and divine masculine.
Mhm. Yeah. So, Brother Truth, I have to tell you that what I appreciate about having you be present, right, not only in the book boot camp, but even in Divine Collective, is that you always bring, like you said, right, the divine masculine into the space in a very practical, methodical, logical way, right? And so you really always bring the essence of divine masculine into any space that you occupy. And I am grateful for it because I think all spaces need balance in that way. And I love that you have compared this experience to the divine feminine because any birthing of any idea is a very feminine experience. And I know, you all already know this, right? That each of us, no matter our gender, are going to have our balances of both energies, masculine and feminine. And so this is a very nurturing experience, right? To be able to tell your story and kind of console yourself through every layer of it while you experience it all over again so that you can now articulate it to someone else. So I love that you made, that connection because it is evident, it is true, it is intentional, and like I said, I love that you show us the duality of how to see it both ways, right? Like what you said, I think really does resonate and hold true that speaking, although I've never read it to be this way, but after you said it, it did resonate with me. Speaking does feel more masculine, right? Than feeling, right? Or writing. And I think that because there's a forward thought that has to immediately happen when you're speaking, right? Like your brain is not balancing on past thoughts necessarily, right? It's focusing on what you need to say next. And so it's a very logical, practical, methodical, right? All the things that I said to describe you, way of being, whereas your writing is almost calming the mind, right? And allowing other parts of our essence to speak to us, right, in order to become the words that go on a page. And so I just think that you referencing it and that dual way of being masculine and feminine experiences, I think that's amazing. It's amazing, and I love that. And so I thank you for adding that into the space, and I thank you for always adding the balance of the two into all the spaces. So I appreciate you for your brotherhood.
I think I would interject a challenge is
Um,
when was the last time that we actually identified the author of the book that we was reading and what the energy that we experienced within the reading of it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thought. It's a thought. It's so true because we can get lost in the narrative and we associate our own voices, right? Whatever voice we conjure up with the voice that goes along with the storyline. So it's a brilliant thought. I thank you for sharing it. Yeah. Oh my goodness, y'all. This has been such a journey, and I'm so grateful to have shared it with you all and others that I know perhaps may not have been able to be on today, but will be hearing this recording. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has taken up space and time with us as we journey through as a circle here. And I'm so, part of me wants to use my former language, right? And say, I cannot wait in order to read your books, your manuscripts, your journals, hear your podcasts, all the things. But I know that I can definitely impatiently wait for the divine timing on it to be delivered. But I will be eager to indulge it all, really and truly. And I thank you all. You all are always the faces that are in these spaces that I consider to be like you're like the founding members of it all. So you already know that if there's any way that I can assist in nurturing, midwifing this experience any way forward for you, I'm here. I'm here, and I'm definitely going to be sharing a link so that we can make sure that the time is allotted. That works well for all of us. And I'm so like just elated. I feel emotional, but I feel mostly joy that this was yet again, a notion that I was nudged to do by spirit and that I've been obedient, and I know that it'll be fruitful, and I just can't wait I can't wait. Even I have to say it. It's like my body has to say it, but I will wait. But I will wait, and I'll do so divinely and patiently. So I thank you for being on tonight. I thank you for journeying together. And I thank you for being already in the birthing process of what you're going to be bringing forward. So we will talk again. And I'm sending so much love, so much light, and all the things, okay, to you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Have a good night.
you. Good
Peace
night.
and love. Peace and love.
Peace and
I'm anxiously anticipating the books.
Yeah, there we go. There's the words. There's the words.
anxiously awaiting.
Those are the words.
And
Thank you.
I am
Chantel,
waiting
I'm
too.
interested in the retreat. Look,
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna have to actually get Sister Chantel to drop the information in the link
yes.
into the chat.
Try to
Okay.
sneak that in there
And
like
what's
it wasn't present.
this is so divine because Sister Chantel and I were just talking about this. Okay. So like literally making sure that you all know, brothers and sisters alike, about this retreat. It's going to be amazing. This will be the second one that I'm attending, that has been so graciously